Hello there, my name is Rita, and I am here to welcome you back to the next episode of The Good Old Days. Today, we are going to be discussing a very interesting topic with a friend of mine. We met on the internet, as always. This is a place where we have been able to cultivate so many beautiful relationships, so this is one of them. Today, I have Martha, a global found wanderer, and she has such an interesting story, and everything she's doing, I felt like it could be something we'd learn from or pick a leaf, because she's on a mission to sell and discover what we have to offer as a culture, as a tribe, as a human race. So allow me to introduce her, or allow her introduce herself to us, and then we can continue. But before we do that, please hit the subscription button. It's free. Give this video a like. If you do, it helps us reach more, because then the system knows that you actually like what we are putting out, so it helps us grow. Share it with your friends and leave us a comment on whatever we're going to be discussing. It will be really, really helpful. So let's dive into it. Hi, Martha.
Hi, how are you, Rita?
I am well.
Good.
I would love you to introduce yourself to the audience and let them know who we have today.
Yes, my name is Martha Keezire. I'm a traveler. I'm a foodie. I love to eat. I think, as you also believe, that there are no fonder memories that are built but on a plate or shared together
sure.
at a table. So I met, or I know you, of the gram.
As we call it.
As we call it,
Instagram.
yes. Instagram. I found your page and I found it really interesting. I love what you're doing. I love to storytell. And I like food. So a combination of both was just perfect. I thought it would be good if we shared on that, on those stories, and what travel does and how it impacts on our lives and the memories you create.
Yeah, and I also like coming with food, the food bit, because food is life. Anyways, so let us know where we came from so that we know where we are going. Yeah. What were the obstacles we met so that we know how to beat them when we meet them again, because it always repeats itself. And one of the stories I found on your page was a story about how the Banyankore, when they are getting married, why they do what they do, which is covering themselves. And as a person who lives on the internet, I have seen most people, or some people, troll other tribes for being too much, and then other people being too little, and then people saying, maybe this is the right way, that is the wrong way. But reading that story on your page was like, wow, I wish the world knew that there's no wrong way or right way. It's just how some people do it, or maybe how they found it. So how did you pick up the idea of telling the stories that define who we are as a people?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think particularly for that story, we were celebrating, and it's a friend of mine was getting married, and they cover completely.
Yeah.
And it's a painstaking process, because your back is bent, your head is covered.
Yes.
And so it made me curious as to why it's done. And as I when I did the research, I found out it's for them in the Bahima culture, it's not necessarily a very glorious
thing to do.
In that season, as opposed to, like, let's say, for Bachiga, actually, the reason why we don't even have like those, unlike Bahima, where it's like, you come out, you're covered, there's a whole process, there are your aunties in the mix. For us, actually, Bachiga, they steal you, so we never used to have even like traditional ceremonies. You just come in the night, you pick the girl, and you go away, then come back with a cow and a goat and say, I took your daughter and I want you to know that that's...
If you do that today, they will beat you. Yeah, you will know.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. You asked the Bahima to find out why they do that.
Yes, so I asked, I was curious, I'm like, why is it that things are done that way? And I was told, and I found it interesting. It was an interesting story to tell, so I shared it on my Instagram account.
Yeah.
I'll try not to paraphrase, because I don't want to, insult, but check it out and see what that's about. But the most exciting thing, I think, for me, is and a question that I would want to know from you, as you were sharing earlier, is that because of the cultures that we have, we find that there are foods that we eat, let's say like a shabu, like you were saying,
Yes.
that are prepared particularly because of our culture. Do you find that because things are changing now, our food culture, like as a Munyankwe, do you eat a shabu as much? Is it something that...
I even sell ghee, just in case this is a small advert. Buy from me, okay? Yeah. By the time you see this, I'm already out of business. Call me. I'm sure I'll have a plug for you. But yeah, I still so much. I think it comes from the fact that I grew up with my grandmother. So a lot of the things we did were so rooted in who she was. Someone who was born in the 40s. So she was so much into the things that we are doing, almost post-colonial, that time where everyone was almost scared, always. So they did things to preserve for what would be coming in the future. Right now, generations and times have changed. Most of the things that saved people in the 40s no longer save people in the 2000s. So I still do the things that we did back then, but I also mix in. I mix in, like, I have a fridge. It's actually very big.
Okay.
But back in the day, we did not have those. If you had cassava, you would have to put it outside in the soil, then keep watering it if you had already gotten it from the garden. Like, there's so many practices we used to do that right now the system or the situation does not support. So I still do them, but mixing them up, but I still do. Okay. And I feel like now in the era of the internet, it's getting more diluted. Because the more we see creators from outside, as Africans, today I was listening to Lumumba, and he was talking about tribes. He says Africans absorb more than they give out. So for us, we are so much attracted to the cultures of other people, especially the Western culture, that we would be like, Ebitakuri is for local people, for poor people, and I don't want to associate with poor. I don't want to associate with local. So you find someone cannot do that or even show it on the internet. Even when they are African, they would rather do something from there because then it makes them look cool. So it dilutes ours and sends it out of the picture. So if we were many of us that would want to try and bring that back, I think I would allow them to live with me.
You'd have to live. That's interesting. Funny story. I went to see an auntie of mine, and she was saying how she... paraphrase, she was like, "Ninirho, yaman dinkwasiraha," meaning she's very thirsty, and the only thing that would quench that thirst is bushera. And I thought to myself, I don't have bushera in my house. And I asked myself in that moment, why? Is it? I just don't, like, for some reason, there seems to be no need for it. Because I was like, there's water, there's juice, there's tea. She's like, no, there's that thirst that only bushera can quench.
Yes.
So I asked myself, like, do you have bushera in your house?
I don't have HSC to keep their bushera tea or which tiribita, but we have porridge. Okay. When I was growing up, each one of us had like a small calabash. So we'd pick from the bigger one and put in ours. Then we'd stir and tezo some because nyama mnyankore. So we do not specifically tero bushera on a daily like the Bachiga do. So you would get some millet, then okorenteze yawa, and then you put in your kacheka. A kacheka is like a calabash. So it would preserve a porridge for a longer time. It would be sweet and fermented and just nice. But now it does not come so easily because we have gone more on the sustainable side of plastic, aesthetics, glass, and all that. And this glass does not make porridge taste the same way. Absolutely. So you find it's like useless. Let's just make porridge every morning. We take porridge and go away. We have thrown away some of the other things. Also, because of the stereotypes, the names we have given those items. For example, of recent I was on the gram, and I saw a post of a friend of mine who was talking about herbs, giving her child herbs. And someone was like, oh my God, may I just got born again? I don't do those things. I was like, if we don't slap this person, what do you mean you just got born again? But it's those things that we do not understand how they work, that we attach our trauma to and want to degrade and then push them out of the game. Because, for example, if you ever sit down and ask yourself, where does oxytocin come from? You never ask yourself that. Where does oxytocin come from? What if there's a plant that actually has a more concentrated level of oxytocin, and if you took it, you'd have contractions and give birth?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did our parents have those, natural, and I know they call it natural, and now we are diving onto the other side of no, everything is natural. It's okay. We can have the arguments, but how were they doing it? We cannot demonize that one because we do not understand it.
Yes.
So that is where most of us are coming from. We demonize everything we do not understand how it works.
Yeah.
And it's causing a problem that even the children we are bringing forth don't even know who they are anymore.
That's true.
We don't know who we are, so we cannot teach them who they are. And it's something that I would want to ask. For example, in your travels on a daily, what are you looking for?
Yeah. I strongly believe that not all who wander are lost.
Yeah.
Is something that
That's why I said found wanderer.
I have, exactly. So I think for me, it's more to have my own experiences.
Yeah.
To see the world for myself.
Yes.
And to also enrich, to also reaffirm, actually, to reaffirm the things that I have. Because so many times when you're in your bubble, you don't realize how privileged you are.
Yeah.
And I found that every time I travel, I find myself circling back to the beauty of, and I know it sounds biased, but the truth is Kabale is the most beautiful place in the world. So I
want to recruit haters.
Kabale it's the most, that's why they called it the Black Switzerland of Africa, because it's like the greenery.
Does that mean Switzerland is setting the bar for beauty, so Switzerland is more beautiful?
Absolutely not. It just means that in their context, it is the most beautiful. So in our context, this is the most beautiful. So the person actually may have meant to say that Kabale, Switzerland is the Kabale of the US, or Europe.
But we already misfired, so we shall go with that one.
So anyways, the people, the joy, my goodness, I don't think it's something that can be explained until you see it. And I think for me, when I go to these different places, especially actually the more modern, like Germany, for example, I found to be a bit sad because people don't greet, and yet for us when I go back home to Kabale, the greeting, it's so warm, it's so energetic. Exactly, you feel like you're part of something, and yet what are you really? Well, you're part of the community. You really are.
Yeah,
you really are. So to answer your question, yes, I believe Kabale. There are countries I've been to. I mean, every country in and of itself has a beauty to it, because I find, but that's also from my personal perspective. The way I perceive life is, I find beauty in difference. So if you're a quiet person, I'll find it beautiful. So if it's a dry, for me, when I was the times I visited Dubai, I find it amazing because of how dry it is. The times I went to South Sudan, I found it really amazing because of how, the diversity, because I only showed one side, but there's another side to it. Or even even the US, or I don't want to list every single country I have been to, but...
How many have you been to?
I've been to 28 countries so far. But
you need to make a press conference.
That's so compared to the 196 or 98 countries, I really have a long way to go.
We haven't been to any, so we cannot know the number that is available.
We can fix that. Let's go to Kabale, then I'll take you to Rwanda and come back.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan. Yeah. When you're talking about seeing beauty in different things and the sadness of a one-sided story, it's like when you travel, you see more. Yes. And then for us who cannot maybe afford to travel, we listen, we read, we understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
Because, for example, this is a very funny story, and I know if someone ever falls on this and they crop it out, I'll be dead. But at some point,
Yes.
I actually thought and believed as a child
Yes.
that Sudan did not receive the sun.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it just felt like that. So of
Yeah.
recent, I had a classmate of mine who comes from South Sudan, and she was showing me some of the places in her hometown. And I was
Yes.
like, this is such a beautiful place.
Yes.
What do you mean this is South Sudan?
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, this is South Sudan. But the other side of this story that we got mainly from mainstream media, from the stories that people told, it was like, oh, this is such a place that you can't just go there for luxury. And yet people are living luxurious.
Oh yes. Oh,
Like
yes.
things are happening, but you see, when you never get out of your bubble, you always feel like everyone else either is forcing or the other one is better or something like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I like the reason why you travel to see more beauty on a
Yeah.
different perspective, but
Yeah.
still believe that home is the best.
I still believe, and also to see people for who they are. I think even to bring it close to home, there's a trip I organized called the Excursion North of the Wall. So that was when Game of Thrones was still a big deal. So that's where the thing came from. But really, it was to go all the way. So we would curate experiences where you do like the whole, you have a cultural experience. So you enter the manyatas, you have a food experience, you eat the food,
The manyatas are the huts.
The huts, yes. The huts. Then you eat the food. So in collaboration with let's say the hotels that were there, but also the people in the communities. And I remember one of the people who I went with was like, I didn't know about you, I guess.
Yeah, I'm translating.
Yeah. It's like, nkanta kuma ngaba koko na bobine, unkokuwa kore bintu byabo. So basically meaning I didn't know
that the North had a culture.
Yes.
Like the way they do their thing.
Yeah. Because it's so we went to the Manyata, we saw how they live, how they clean their things, how they take care of their cows, how they have a system, you know?
Yes.
And if you don't see it for yourself, you can't of course books are amazing because especially if you find a really good writer, a good orator, they can take you there, but experiencing something on your own, I think really it does something in you. It changes you for sure.
Then the other thing is, we could just be seeing this microphone.
Yeah.
But I see a shure, you see a microphone.
Exactly.
We don't feel the same way about the same microphone, even when we have it, all of us together. Yeah. So there's also traveling and going in those places, but you're biased.
Yes.
Yeah? You still have this side of the story that this is not cool, or this is the most beautiful place I'll ever be.
Yeah.
Like I've seen videos of Paris, like at the Eiffel Tower, and all the people, the things I've seen, and the pictures I've seen before is like, what do you mean this is it?
Exactly.
Like this is the ground? This rubbish? So I've seen those, and the pictures that I see, the glorification of the place, and then the reality of the place, we can go there and we don't get the same feeling. So I don't know about that. Is it about open-mindedness when you're organizing these trips and taking people away to give them an experience? Are you open-minded to people who are actually still going to trash the place?
Yeah.
Or do you focus on letting them know what to expect?
I think for me, it's mostly, I will, people have expectations.
Yeah.
So depending on your expectations, you will get what your expectations are. So if you, there are places that are monumental, for example. Of course, let's say the Eiffel Tower is an amazing piece of architecture. So there are people who go for that reason, to see it in its glory.
Yeah.
Considering the context of the time when it was built, how it was built, all those things. And then there are people who go for the gram and probably not even go to the right location, because even that matters. So
you have to be quick and snap. What if it could shift before you gram it.
Exactly. So if you're there for the photo ops, then sometimes you might be disappointed if expectations are really high.
Yeah.
But there are also parts, for example, in my experience with France, was that there are still places that are very high end, that are very beautiful. And so if you go, usually why people are disappointed is because indeed we know how social media is.
Yeah.
You know, you could present something, and that's a power. It's a strength and a power of social media, is that you have the ability to create a context to create an image in the way that you want to. So if I choose to say this is how it's going to be, that is how it's going to be. And I think it's something that for us as Ugandans, we need to utilize in our speaking to a former Miss Tourism,
Always a queen.
With the onus is on us to make sure that we create an image and tell a story that feeds our narrative, which the Western world is doing such a good job at. To dial us back into the conversation of food, there are people who are found who are like, oh, when I go to China, I won't be able to eat anything because I'm afraid I'll eat
a frog,
a dog, a what? And then I'm like, you eat yams. Yams are grown in swamps.
Yes.
In swamps, there are feces and maggots.
You are spoiling.
So
you're spoiling the whole situation for us.
Technically, if you like yams, you're as good as,
eating escargots.
Eating maggot. You can eat the maggot. You eat anything in a different
By
form.
the way, coming back to that, there's a time someone posted, the South Africans, I think the people from the South, eat the feet of the chicken.
Yeah.
And when you look at the wings, the winglets of the chicken, they have obgada, nails.
Yeah.
Like they are the same, just the arms, but the feet. But I've sometimes, there's a time I posted a picture, I think on my status, we were like, ew, you will eat a person, the way you eat things. Because what is it? The same people are eating wings.
Yes.
This is the same thing.
So, yeah.
Arms and legs.
Yeah.
But now you're choosing to draw the line on the legs.
Yeah, you eat chigere, so.
Wow, context. Jesus.
Context. So, does that mean you'd be open to eating?
Escargots, no. Escargots are snails.
Yeah.
The West, no. When I visit West Africa, please, help me. I'm your girl. Don't feed me those. Well, unless I know, one thing I know for sure is something you believe will happen.
Yeah.
Because I have seen things like, when I was growing up, they used to tell us, you can't sit where they are cooking from. Your grandmother will die, or your mother will die. Don't say the name of your mother-in-law. You will, or your children will break their teeth. Those things don't work. Oh.
Are you always singing your in-laws?
I'm not singing it out loud. Like I find her seated there and I'm like, hey, but if someone asks me, what is the name of your mother-in-law?
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be reading in the Bible and quoting and then going around like they used to.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you the name of the person and we continue because I do not believe it's going to break my teeth. Yeah? Or when I sit on orgari.
Yes.
It does not kill me. I've seen my children sit there and nothing happens. But back in the day, it was like, Jesus, what have you done? You want to finish the whole Quran?
Or sweeping in the night.
Yeah, sweeping in the night. You're taking away the blessings. But here, when we are done working, you will sweep because tomorrow you want to start on a clean.
I better live here. Am I going to live with my blessings? I better go. I'm joking.
If you came in with some, you're going with them.
Yeah, but you're right.
So
I think
it's the belief.
It's interesting that you say that because I believe that some of these, like, for example, Oktashtama Hihega was to protect the children from being burnt. Yes. So knowing the genesis and not being so hell-bent on, because I find that with these sayings sometimes would become slaves to them, in that they would punish you too. Because someone actually does believe that.
And it actually does. It happens. It happens in some places. If you strongly believe something. You see how you say, we believe in God. Be truthful. Have you ever seen God?
I see him in you.
In me, yeah? But you believe in God, someone you have never seen physically, someone you do not know, and he does things, and you will stand on your 2 feet and you're like, that was God. There's no way there was going to be a way there, because I do not think any human person or human being was able to get something for me done that way. That was God. You believe it. But how do you think the Muslims survive? They believe in Allah, different faith. How do you think the Orthodox survive? They believe in their God also. How do you think the Baha'i survive? They have their own beliefs, and they are doing much as better as we are, all in different faith. So when you stand and want to condemn maybe different beliefs, people want to use herbs, you don't want to use herbs. You want to use processed medicine, no problem. But you do not cast stones on the other ones. I feel like that is where we are going, especially now on social media. You would put something out and someone's like, that's not how it's done. That's not how they do it. Usually I ask, who is they? Because me, I ate this thing and I didn't die. And I actually did enjoy it. But you enjoy it with peanut butter. So go on and do that and leave me alone.
So do you believe if they sweep you under your feet, you're going to get married from far?
I used to. There's a bird, kanyam shung shung.
Yes.
You know it?
Yeah.
We used to see it. At once I kanyam shung shung ndiashwero kuningoku ndiafaninga ndiamela, and then when it nods, I'm dying. If it looks up, it means you're going to live longer.
Yeah.
If it looks down, bro, you're dying tomorrow. You don't have anything to put in your will, just die, no problem, in peace. If it says you're going to maybe look at the side, that means you're going to either the right or the left, you're going to be married near, you're going to be married far away. If someone sweeps and the things come towards you, you have to go away, because that way you're going to be married in the Far East and they will beat you up and you will not have transport to come back home. So
what about...
But no, it doesn't actually happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other thing I've remembered is girls not eating the enkokonkuru.
It is because of men's greed. Oh! My grandmother, up to now, Nyawo does not touch those things.
That's the gizzard.
The gizzard, yeah.
Enkokonkuru is the gizzard.
She does not eat meat, I think some meats, but she can eat offals. Because that's what the men were willing to offer.
They eat the kokokuru and all the other parts.
They will give them the offals, the tripe,
yeah.
They give them. That is what women were supposed to do.
Wow.
So some of those people still don't understand. My grandmother doesn't understand how we eat spaghetti.
Yeah.
She's like, Jesus, you're eating worms. But they're actually not worms. It's just the same as penne, just chopped in a different shape.
Yeah.
If you had that understanding, you would know why. But most of us are bent on the other belief of what we are told.
Yeah.
And as we grow or get to this other side, you find it no longer serves us.
Yeah.
Some of the things no longer serve us. It's just better you educate yourself and live life and experience it in its fullness.
That's true. We don't investigate. We don't question.
Yeah.
And investigate what's the genesis of this? What's the genesis of this this
belief have.
Yeah. And does it indeed, like you said, does it serve me in this time? Because there are contexts where indeed it is to serve them.
Yeah.
But there are times where, like now, I mean, gizzards are sold in packs.
And I can have a whole pack to myself.
Aisha husband
I'm doing
doesn't
that
want
to
it.
avenge my ancestors. On a daily, I'm making sure I'm eating meat, flesh, steak.
You tell your husband.
Unprovoked.
Tell your husband not to eat the gizzard. You say it's mine.
He actually doesn't. I will cut the whole chicken and eat it alone in his face. Ladies, you need to put your fighting armor on. We need to avenge our ancestors. The men did us that thing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you. Those guys, if we could catch the guys from those days, I don't think they'll survive.
No,
But anyways, it would bring me back to the teaching your children.
Yeah.
You are a mother, I am one. And the things we teach them, like I am not such a Bible reader, but I've had Bible readers say that the Bible says, teach the children how you want them to go, and they will never deviate from it.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know it. Yes. But yeah, the things you're teaching, from the fact that you're from our generation, the X, and now you have an Alpha. So I would want to know, what are some of those things you're getting from back home and you're bringing into your home to teach or help your child navigate life much easier or much better than you were taught or you did?
I think staying curious, which means educating yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can possibly have enough of that, where there are many things that haven't yet happened.
Yeah.
Or considering like us who are in the internet era, that created, like, now actually they were saying, we're in a period where we have an information overload. And
Yes.
now actually the challenge for us is to be able to critically
Filter.
analyze, yes, critically analyze and filter information more than actually just acquiring information. So I think there's certain skills like that out of curiosity someone can acquire. So for me, one of the things that I am keen on teaching my child, and children generally, the ones that people who are under my care, is that yeah, to be inquisitive, to be curious, and to keep your mind open to the opportunities that are out there, because it's such a big world out there, and yet our minds can really contain us.
Yeah.
Your mind can contain you to a space, it can contain you to an experience, it can contain you to a small fraction of what
You are
the world
allowed
has to
to.
offer. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that is something I would want to pick because growing up, I was in such a strict environment, as most of us, millennials or X's, most of us were told a lot of things we shouldn't do, and very less of things we should do. And however much I also catch myself now trying to do the same, I have the understanding to tell myself, relax, let the child be. If you want to wear your shoes, let them. If you want to stay up all night, cool, no problem. When you
Yeah.
want to sleep, you will sleep. Easy. I have a very, very, very outgoing daughter. My son is kind of laid back, so he doesn't really care about a lot of things like my daughter. But I have tried to instead nurture her madness because she's so strong-willed that every time I look at her, I'm like, if I tell her, no, don't do that, don't do this, maybe one day it's going to damage her will,
Yeah.
her willingness to take on so many and bigger things in life. So, yeah, I feel like that is a good thing. So, as the culture is for this podcast, we are moving. We are in a line. The universe cleanses itself. There were people here 2,000 years ago that are no longer here. We don't even know their names. And most of them did great things, but they did not even get chance to appear in history books.
Yeah.
So we may not appear in history books, but we have people close to us. We have those we impact on a daily. And this leads me to the question of if you're no longer here, like you have gone on to the next life, what do you want the people coming after you, the people who you were able to be in touch with or in contact with, to remember you for?
I would like for people to remember me as a free spirit, an adventurer, a
Yeah.
person that made you curious, a person that exposed you to the world out there, a person that you traveled with, because I strongly, strongly believe that travel changes a person. You're never the same. The moment, I mean, people even advocate that just leaving the room,
Yes.
like having, usually when there's a study that showed that once you just changing, let's say you've been in a workspace, just leaving it and going to the next room gives you a new perspective. So my desire would be to have a good number of people that I've taken from one place to another, that I've given
Wow.
an experience. That's for me the dream. And I think if I did that, I would actually impact. And case in point, I remember I've been privileged to have a very good relationship with my parents, and I remember traveling with my father, and him saying, he's like, I never knew Uganda was this beautiful, and I
Wow.
wouldn't have known if you hadn't brought me here. And this is someone who is in his 70s. Well, I think he was in his 60s by the time he said that. And
Yeah.
for me, to hear that from someone that age means that now think of the people that, and I think, I mean, so far we're trying.
If you were a Gen Z, you were going to ask, what have you been doing all this long? But it's such a good thing to want to leave behind, because when you open someone's mind, most of the times they're like, oh my God, are you God or what? Because how didn't I know this all along.
Yes.
Because now, in my perspective, in the food or in the kitchen, I have seen people come to me and they're like a few months ago, before I landed on your page, I couldn't even make dinner for my family. If I wanted to eat out, if I wanted to eat something nice, would have to order out. But ever since I jumped on your page, it's like things are easy. It is because of this side we have of the confinement in the beliefs we have found that things are hard, things are supposed to be expensive and fancy for them to taste or be better or be nice.
Yeah.
And then you click to that. Even right now in Kampala or in Uganda, if this flour is not 500,000, someone can convince you it's fake and it will kill you and you will believe. Yes.
And yet
But
it's
if they
not.
tell you it is 500,000, you're like, oh my God, that must be genuine. That is like good. I should get that one. It's the belief. But rather, if you open up your mind and understand that things are things, you experience them differently regardless of their cost. And you can have a best experience regardless of where the things are coming from or where you are or how you see them. It would make such a big, big difference. I hope one day we can sit back here with our children and look at this episode and be like, oh my God, those were the good old days. And then they'll ask, did you actually go to Kigali or did you not?
And your answer will be yes, you
Yes.
went.
Oh, yes, we went in October. So anyways, it was such a great episode. I feel like we have flowed akagamba akakojungazaga no past participone. Like we have flowed whatever.
The
That conversation was
has-
flowing so well, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for honoring my invite and being my friend finally, because now you cannot leave me alone. Now we are tied for life.
Yes, we are planning trips together.
Yeah. So
really-
parting shot.
Yes, if there's anything, actually, just to tie into what you said, if there's anything that bonds you, it's travel. Because people, because of the situations you find yourself in, you become closer. So if ever you want to test your relationship, number one, but also if you ever want to get close to someone, travel with them. Because then they are true. You can't really hide your inner self once you're in a critical situation.
And they leave their clothes down and you're like, now this one, who is this person I'm going to marry? Then you have saved yourself.
Exactly.
You will leave him alone.
Yeah, if they don't bathe, they'll forget. They may pretend the first night, but the second night
they will not. Okay, so I would want you to also because this is a legacy you're building for days, for years from now.
Yeah.
We may not have as much clout right now, but these are going to be here forever, even long after we are gone.
Yeah.
What is it about Keezire that you would want the world to know, the travel, not as a person, the travel company, and then you give us your parting shot, the last words, and then we close the episode. It's been long.
Great, yes. So for me, as Keezire travels, would hope that people are open to perceive travel not as a luxury, but as an opportunity. Yes, as an opportunity to educate yourself. So as you invest in, it didn't have to be, you may not have to go straight to Lake Como, but you can start somewhere near. You can start Lake Bunyonyi, you can start Lake Mburo. That's what I would want 50 years down the road, for that to be echoed back to people, for people to say, Keezire Travel offered this opportunity. But above all, offered travel to Ugandans, for Ugandans, and then broader to Africans, and then internationally. That's what I would want. And then
okay, so we find you on website?
So yes, find me on my website. That's www.keezire.com. That's KEEZIRE. On Instagram. And hopefully podcast as well soon. So I'll be hosting.
Inshallah, we can't wait to have you over. We have space where we are shooting from. So in case you ever consider creating content, we offer that environment where you're able to create tell your story and share with the world. So homely. We'll even give you a free fruit if they are in season. Anyways, thank you so much, Martha, for this. And thank you so much, guys, for watching up until this time. I hope to see you soon in my next videos. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.